There is a knee-jerk reaction that I have when I see rhetoric that revolves around old thing good, new thing bad. And it's not a positive knee-jerk reaction. Generally, I associate hating on new things to be sort of a sad reluctance to let go of the past and accept that the world moves forwards. I'm tired of seeing lazy takes about how modern music is all a bunch of auto-tune slop and that art stopped being good sometime in the last 50 years. Most of that rhetoric is anti-intellectual, and I'm honestly pretty tired of seeing it. That said, sometimes an older thing just is better, and in my view, that kind of occurrence is despite the fact that it's older. Newer ideas have the benefits of being fresh, timely, and well, new. For the most part, old stuff struggles to thrive in modern contexts, and that's okay. But today, I'm going to get pretty autistic about one of the cases where the old times really were better. There was an episode from the short-form video web series Subway Takes that changed the way that I think about art. If you aren't familiar with Subway Takes, it's an interview show hosted by a guy named Kareem, and he asks various guests, usually internet celebrities, to give a take. It's all on a subway, as the name implies, Subway Takes. He'll entertain their idea for a bit, either be convinced by them if he doesn't agree, or just kind of talk to them about it if he does agree. I think it's a pretty fun web series, and I enjoy it thoroughly. But in this one particular episode, the guest was Charli XCX. Charli is one of my favorite musicians of all time. 4 of her albums are in my top 100. In this episode of Subway Takes, what Charli says gave me the words to understand a crucial way that I feel about music, and the more I think about it, how I feel about art and all artistic media for that matter. Charli said that being a good musician isn't worth anything if you have no artistry. Today we are looking at some of the older Counter-Strike skins, which I am particularly fond of. And, it's quite apparent that they aren't exactly genius products of graphic design. They're good, they're clearly made by professionals, but they're not always the most clean, most polished products in the world. But for me, that doesn't matter at all, because at the end of the day, what I find in older Counter-Strike skins is an artistic vision that is a lot more meaningful than most of the newer skins that I see coming out. While Valve had tested the skin economy with Team Fortress 2, the Armsteel update was an experimental venture into developing a medium. There is an extremely illuminating speech given by a Valve employee about this update, and she reveals a lot about their headspace when creating skins. She also admits that in many ways, Valve had no idea what they were doing. Apparently, they believed that the duller, more realistic designs were going to sell better, which really could not have been further from the truth. She also explains that they added float with the idea that higher float values would be more desirable. Again, just completely opposite from how things really did turn out. Part of me wonders why they thought that, but I digress. She notes that the rarity system was made to keep the prices of the skins somewhat even. They predicted that the rarity would add incentive for players to collect the colorful skins at the higher end of the rarity spectrum, but what they actually ended up doing was create an artificial scarcity for something that was already seen as more desirable. All of this culminates into an experimental economy, something which kind of fascinates me. As somebody who is usually very critical of market systems, how they operate, and what they lead to, I think that the world of Counter-Strike skins is just incredibly interesting. It's filled with a lot of ugly shit, a lot of scamming, a lot of, dubious morals and ethics, but it's also, very cool, and kind of the absurdist in me really loves it. And there are so many video games that have skins, but I don't think any of them have ever captured the uniqueness and variety that early Counter-Strike skins had to offer. Both the community designs and the official Valve designs were made in this experimental context, where public opinion of what makes something a good skin was not really yet clearly established. This gives the early CSGO skins a unique aura that can't really be replicated. It's a combination of the designs being generally less polished and therefore, in my opinion, more punk, and also the eagerness to test various design philosophies and see what would work well in the skin marketplace. Now, as we've gotten deeper and deeper into the lifespan of the game, Counter-Strike's skin economy begins to be a solid, well-understood mechanism of the game, which is propping up the whole system. Valve has been running the skin economy and studying it for over 10 years. They've established principles of design which the community responds well to. And that's where all of these modern cases that they keep pumping out begin to turn into kind of a homogeneous slop. Every once in a while, we get an absolute banger of a skin that really surprises me. And, you know, I recognize that a lot of these skins are pretty cool, but for the most part, everything just kind of bleeds together. Especially the new armory. This shit is just kind of a sea of mid. You've got to understand, Counter-Strike skins for me when I was like growing up in high school were like my special interest, to the point where I could name like 95% of all of the skins in the game just by looking at them. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I could name more than like 10 from the new armory update. Maybe that's because I'm falling out of love with the game a little bit, but honestly, I think it's because they're just not that interesting. The design philosophy of Counter-Strike skins has not really changed since like the Prisma case. Now, I do want to complicate this particular point because I don't think it's totally a bad thing. You would be right to point out that a lot of the old skins from the early days of Global Offensive have a vibe that is consistent between them. They are distinguishable as old just by the way that they look. Like if you had never seen the Op Lightning Strike, but you'd seen every other skin from the earliest skin update, you would see that it fits with them. The JPEG compression of the Lightning Bolt really like tells on itself. And if you aren't really into the vintage look of these skins, and that's kind of understandable. But for me, this whole aesthetic has had the time to be looked at and reflected on as an era, and I think I would start to appreciate the newer skins in the game more than I already do if we somehow entered a future where CS2 skins really start to become their own. But my point about monotony still stands, because if you look at all of the skins coming out from the Arms Deal update to around where the Danger Zone case came out, you can see the skins evolving. In that period, they went from something that the community was still figuring out how to understand to a well-defined visual medium. There's even a whole book about how to make them. And I really think that through the process of experimenting and trying to find what works, did we get some of the most sick designs. Recently, I've just been seeing so much less of this experimentation. Look at the new skins from the Armory collection and ask yourself honestly, if these weren't on new gun models, do these skins really look like anything new to the game? And if your answer is yes, I am earnestly interested in hearing your reasons. But for me, the Armory update didn't scratch any new kind of itch. I want to highlight a particular new skin that I've seen people share my hatred for, and kind of outline how this kind of just aesthetic barf is very indicative of the space in which modern skins are starting to inhabit. This thing is like so offensive to look at, in my opinion. It's just absolutely the corniest skin design that we have ever been given. And the audacity for them to call it Vaporwave, which was an experimental kind of early internet age aesthetic, and made up this whole very kind of grungy, very kind of unique, hard to pin down aesthetic, and then to slap that label onto this Hollister t-shirt looking ass piece of garbage that I have in front of me, is just, it's so frustrating. Like, this skin is just so auraless, and so are, like, most of the skins in this case, if I'm being honest. Like, what the fuck is this? What am I looking at? I will say, I do want to show some love, though. This one is very sleek. I like it. But let's be real. It's got nothing on the detour. it's just not the same. And I think if we really want to use this example of how Counter-Strike skins used to have aura, there is just so much simplicity that is playing into this skin's favor. We've gotten to the point where even the blue skins in modern cases are just crowded with detail, and the only thing that separates them from reds is that the art is maybe not as large or in your face, and the colors are muted and dull. Like this random blue deagle that's meant to look, you know, kind of unassuming. I mean, I don't hate it. Like, it you know, it's pretty nice, but it's just, there's so many details. It's so packed. And, you know, if this skin were like bright pink, what would separate it from being a blue? The reason why I fuck with this skin is because it's not aesthetically overwhelming at all. There are a few, you know, kind of extra details that, you know, kind of make the skin look a little bit more modern, but overall the design is very simple and it delivers well. I will say though, at a certain point, you do kind of enter a level of complexity and complication that I do think is really cool. I think that this is one of the coolest AKs that's ever been added to the game. Like, this artwork is genuinely really awesome. At the same time, though, I don't know if you would see this skin in my collection, but I will give it props. It's very punk. I like it. And, like, what are we doing with shit like this? Like, let's be real. What are we doing here? Come on. Come on. Really? Really? This is some fucking tacky, like, Claire's bullshit. I don't want this. I don't want it anywhere near me. Get it off my screen. This is just delightful to look at because it's very simple, it's straightforward, while also being unique and artsy. Now, I would like to proactively counter some rhetoric that I expect to see in the comment section of this video if it reaches a wide enough audience. In the world of fashion, rarity and price absolutely matter. I'm one of those people who thinks that the dragon lore is ugly, but you know damn well that I'm dropping my op to pick one up if I see it in game. And I really used to fuck with the idea that you shouldn't buy a skin because of status or rarity or because it's expensive. You should buy one that you really like. And there are instances where I agree, and I think this is completely true. For example, I will always prefer an inventory of cheap skins that match each other either in vibe or color, all working together to complete a collection that has a clear goal, over a $40,000 inventory filled with Doppler gems that don't match the factory new gloves and the AK Gold Arabesque that the collector bought to pair with them. I think those kind of inventories are just tasteless. A part of me cringes every time I see a video where somebody is reacting to pro inventories and they're basically just trying to see who bought, or in most cases rented or borrowed, the most expensive skins. I mean, who cares? I really fuck with Hunter's taste in skins, because even if he's got like a lot of ugly loadouts throughout his time playing, I see he's trying to make something cohesive. But look, these dudes get paid to play the game and be good at it, not to have good taste. So what did I expect? All of that said, if you're judging a skin on its own outside of in the context of an inventory, price and rarity absolutely do have to matter. And it especially adds to the coolness of a skin if it is both expensive and a skin that you don't see people using often. I think that's part of why I love the Jet Set. I think it's like the coolest skin in the game. It looks sick, the design is experimental, it's from a strange niche collection, and you rarely see people rocking it. The higher price tag on that skin shows a level of commitment that says, you know, I really stand by this old design and I'm going to use it. I know if this video reaches a wide enough audience, I'm going to get people in the comments section calling me pretentious. If you're that person, I want you to know that doing so is such an unhelpful, hollow response to something that I put a lot of thought and reasoning behind. I'm not telling you that you are or are not free to enjoy certain things, but I am establishing a framework for judging art, and that can be used anywhere, and it could be valuable to you, so don't just write it off as pretentious. Regardless of if you agree with me or not, you should spend some time picking apart the media you consume, of which skins are a valid medium. Throwing around labels such as pretentious is just anti-intellectual nonsense, and we don't need any more of that. If you have something interesting to say about the points I made in the video, I welcome you to let me know. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. Start an argument in the comments so that the YouTube algorithm likes me, and then go on a nice walk to cleanse your spirits. Peace out.